Hello and welcome back to Media Beat. I'm Chris Aarons, editorial director here at Mediabistro.com. We're here again with Dylan Ratigan, and we want to talk in this segment a little bit about getting your message across through other means, not just cable news. You're very prolific on Twitter. You have something like 20,000, 22,000 followers. How do you use that, and how do you separate the sort of the message that you communicate on your show and maybe some personal tweets? Because a lot of, I think, personalities haven't quite figured out, well, I can tweet about I'm having lunch with so-and-so, but also the message that I'm getting across to my audience.
Well, let's look at all the assets first off, right? You have the TV show, that's the nuclear reactor, right? That's the X-ray gun. It gives you the opportunity, gives you production facility, gives you a lot of access to a lot of things. In the modern world, it is impotent by itself, in my opinion, whether, I don't care what your time slot is. But it's a necessary asset. You then have the web and all the digital assets, not just Twitter, but you have Twitter, and in our case, we have DylanRatigan.com, which is a narrative-driven site, and we've got a podcast, Radio Free Dylan, which gives us that longer cycle engagement with people.
That's daily?
That's probably, that comes out a few times a week, 2 to 3 times a week on DylanRatigan.com. But the thing I love about all these different assets is how different they are. I'm still trying to figure out. I don't consider my personal life to be that interesting, quite honestly. I work all the time and I go home. You know, people. You know, I'd like to tell you that I was with Charlie Sheen, but I don't even. I've never met the guy. I'm hoping. Well, no, I'm not. And so, for me, I don't do a lot of, you know, I'm having dinner here and I'm eating breakfast now and whatever it is. And I think that there's a place for that, and I see other people use it in a way that I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that, you know, and maybe I'll find my way. But right now I look at those more as ways to share information. And then the podcast, in some ways, is the most interesting asset because it has no time constraints. It's this on steroids, because there's a certain level you're going to tell me to shut up because you can only put so much video on the internet.
Shut up. No, I'm just kidding. Keep going. Keep going.
At least I'm obedient. You know, I'm a well-trained anchor. So I think the key is to sort of play the machine that you want when you want it.
Use them all. So you have.
And we're learning. You know, it's a learning process for me and everybody. We haven't cracked it yet, but we're working on it.
We all are.
Yeah.
Before MSNBC, before CNBC, before Bloomberg, you were working in a parking garage.
That was my first job.
How did you go from a parking garage to becoming the global
managing editor for corporate finance? Well, it took 10 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of 18-hour days between the parking garage and running corporate finance. But it's a sort of classical New York story. After I graduated from college, a friend of mine's father had a parking business. I was interviewing for jobs. I asked his dad if I could get a gig between job interviews where I would audit the parking garages. And it was me and this Haitian guy and this Russian guy, and we would drive in this white Plymouth Shadow. We would leave at 10 p.m. and we would work till 4 a.m., garage to garage to garage, looking to see whether the parking attendants, whether the scam in parking is you park a car in the garage, but you don't put the car in the computer, and then you charge for the car, you pocket the cash. So the trick is you go in and you actually have to physically, in the middle of the night, walk through each floor of the parking garage and physically count all the cars.
Wow.
And so you come back with a list of cars. There's 600 cars in this building. And then you print out on the computer how many cars are in this building. And if there's more cars in the building, I mean, it's as rudimentary as it gets. But so that was the experience. We'd stop at the Chirping Chicken at 3 in the morning up in Washington Heights, and then head south to go to some other garage. But I was doing that job in the context of interviewing for Wall Street or finance-related junior-type jobs, Merrill Lynch, Goldman, these sorts of places. And I, through a whole other set of circumstances, managed to finagle an interview with Bloomberg when I was 22. Through all these I was just looking for interviews anywhere I could get them. The interview went well, and they were rapidly expanding, and so I was 22, and they said, well, if you want to go to New Jersey for $20,000 a year and rewrite press releases that nobody else wants to deal with, you're hired. And considering that I was working parking garages from 10 a.m. till 4 in the morning, 20 G's a year in New Jersey rewriting press releases was a step up. Yeah. And so that was sort of the beginning. And to answer your question briefly, in the next 8 years, Bloomberg and I were I was a fish in water in that company. They were growing. Basically, if you could get things done, which I was good at doing for them, they would continue to promote you. And so I was very good at getting things done. I was a good reporter. I was good at finding things out. I was good at doing what reporters do for them, and so it went well.
Yeah. So where do you want to be in 5 years?
I would love to be doing what I'm doing. I would love to be doing more of what I'm doing. For me to be able to both, if I can continue my own transition from sort of being alarmed and angered and upset by all the things that I've sort of witnessed over the past few years, and really become and continue to develop around both education and helping people to better understand these trillion-dollar problems. How does this all work, connecting those dots? And advocacy for solutions to these types of problems. As a journalist, as an advocacy journalist, where people know exactly what I'm for and what I'm against. It feels like the most meaningful work for a person. I'm a lucky guy. I'm a child of a single mother. I came to New York without any money, and I got a job at a parking garage and started doing job interviews. And I believe that my own success up to this point and my own education up to this point is largely a function of the healthier aspects of the American system, which is if you show up and you work hard and you get things done, well, then you can get promoted and you can get developed. And if you show achievement, then you can accumulate power and influence, because achievement should correlate to power and influence. And so I think that this is, in some ways, the most meaningful thing I can think of to do.
And like his hero, Teddy Roosevelt, he walks softly and carries a big stick, right?
Yes. As long as Teddy was famous for going to the national parks and trying to kill things. I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, keep it growing.
We'll keep it on the life tip.
That's right. All right, we've been talking with Dylan Ratigan here on Media Beat. Thanks for joining us.